This presentation is for the requirements for the course, Project Governance Values and Ethics, and it will do so via establishing the issues for this case in terms of a project governance framework or lack thereof. This is for the digital transformation for e-government in the Ministry of Technologies. Our course coordinator is Mr. Sherwin Cambridge. Our group members are Witella Charles, Claytesia Daniel, Carleen Perryman, and Samari Samos. I will now hand it over to Witella Charles, who will discuss the next section.
Project governance can be conceptualized as a collection of management systems, rules, protocols, relationships, and structures that provide the framework within which decisions are made for project development and implementation to achieve the intended business or strategic motivation. Beckernstein, 2009. Moreover, it is explained by Ali 2015 that project governance is specific and is crafted based on the needs of individual companies. The environment in which a project is to take place determines how the project should be managed or monitored. The environment dictates the rules, procedures, and framework for the project and how the information will be disseminated throughout the project's lifecycle. The environment also dictates the management of relationships, specifically project team members, stakeholders, and the organization. Ali 2015 also posits the significance of project governance, especially regarding accountability and how it helps to ensure that project targets are met and that the responsibilities are clearly defined and assigned. Furthermore, project governance, as stated by Ali 2015, supports communication and information sharing with stakeholders, which fosters stakeholder engagement and efficiency when providing notifications pertaining to project status. In this report, project management and governance issues within the Ministry of Technology's digital transformation project will be interrogated. Strategies to improve the successful implementation of the project will be discussed, and a governance framework will be developed. Now we move on to the background of the case. As it pertains to the realm of project management, project performance is a key factor, as this is the basis on which the success of a project is measured. Within project management, the aim is to create a product within a specific time frame, adhere to a predetermined budget, ensure the inclusion of specific factors, meet the needs of all stakeholders involved, and deliver a result that brings about the required change. As posited by Bonges and Grigorou, 2013, performance can be managed from an operational perspective, where performance is assessed based on the targets of units in the company, or a strategic perspective where performance is analyzed in alignment with the strategic performance of the company and how their contribution adds to the holistic operations of the business. Specifically for project performance, the performance of individual project team members is analyzed along with the performance of the project manager, the entire team, including the project manager, and the project itself. This assessment takes place throughout the life cycle of the project and takes into consideration the scope of the project and the processes involved. And this is from Bonges and Grigorou, 2013. Now, the way in which project performance is executed is based on project governance, as this encapsulates the procedures and guidelines which dictate how a project will be managed. Project governance may be understood as rules, procedures, and policies that determine how projects are managed and overseen. These rules and procedures define how decisions are made during projects. And this from ADA CA 2021. It is further highlighted by the author that as it pertains to the management procedures, how project success is assessed also forms part of project governance. As such, project performance falls under this umbrella as it pertains to monitoring and assessing the stages or phases of the project and is directly impacted by project governance. Project governance is inextricably linked to project performance and, as an extension, success. The guidelines set out by project governance govern the way in which performance is measured and ensures that updates are provided effectively and that stakeholders are involved, which supports the success of the project. Now, these management procedures within the Ministry of Technology. Although there is a project management office responsible for the planning, execution, and implementation of projects, there is a clear absence of governance. The ministry is currently utilizing a general project management framework rather than a framework tailored to its specific needs and structure. Moreover, there is poor communication, insufficient and incorrect information sharing, resistance to organizational change, a lack of consensus as it relates to the specific technologies to be used, and high demand for ICT projects with poor ICT infrastructure. The IT manager and his or her technicians have taken on the responsibility of ICT projects rather than a project manager, which has created significant conflict. The IT manager in this instance is a consultant as well as a stakeholder. Their advice is required as they lead the department. However, they are also the beneficiaries of this transformation. And rather than being engaged, they have been wrongfully tasked with roles. Now, there are various schools of thought that can be used to analyze and address this specific project. The single firm governance school of thought, as outlined by Becker 2014, associates project governance with business that focus on internal projects catering to mostly internal stakeholders. These companies are concerned with executing projects which support the enhancement of the performance of the organization holistically. It is explained by Becker 2014 that this is a strategic and technical approach to project governance, as there is a top-down structure that is geared towards internal procedures and guidelines. On the other hand, the multi-firm governance school of thought, as postulated by Becker 2014, also operates using a strategic and technical approach, but is more so concerned with contractual agreements, where multiple groups contribute to one or more than one project. Representatives reflective of the community are required, which include government and non-government agencies, as well as nonprofit organizations. Lastly, the large capital governance school of thought, as posited by Becker 2014, identifies projects as organizations that are objective-driven, requiring a governance framework. This school of thought takes an institutional and strategic approach. Large projects are seen as a company within the actual company due to their size and the specific requirements that it entails. Becker 2014 also emphasizes the importance of stakeholders and relationships for these types of projects, as it is easy to become caught up in internal complexities and administrative tasks, and forget that external relationships are also significant to the project. Regarding the digital transformation project, this can be interrogated from the single firm governance school of thought. It is posited by Becker 2014 that this approach is typically used in IT projects where there is an autonomous organization like the Ministry of Technology that is concerned with the internal projects geared towards enhancing the performance of the organization and the organization's strategy. It is made apparent in the case that both the minister and the permanent secretary is seeking an internal organizational change that will inform the ministry's strategic objectives. It is also postulated by Becker 2014 that policies and data protection are key components of this school of thought. It is mentioned in the case that the Ministry of Technology is experiencing issues with a clear policy for the IT departments and adequate technological infrastructure for the ministry's databases. As relates to the objectives, the first is to create a culture of communication utilizing project management tools and software. The second is to create governance measures for the IT department through informative workshops to advise on the roles and responsibilities of the individuals within the department. Third, to implement change management procedures and sensitize staff to the new ICT infrastructure that will be implemented. Fourth, to create policies and store them within a repository to facilitate ease of access and information sharing using data protection measures. Policies that will initially be created include a data classification policy, IT department manual, or an ICT procedural manual. Fifth, to restructure the project management office, recruit project team members, and create standardized policies to outline procedures for the planning and execution of projects going forward. Sixth, to host recurring meetings with stakeholders at each phase of the project and create a relationship with stakeholders to ensure feedback and participation. Seventh, to host recurring meetings with project team members and implement oversight procedures with assistance of the project management software. And lastly, to create a project governance framework tailored to the needs of the organization and project.
One.
I will now hand over to my colleague Leticia, who will now discuss the analysis of issues and the synthesis of resources.
I will now discuss an analysis of the issues and synthesis of the resources for this project. I would do so by first establishing the importance of project governance. We must first ask the question, what is project governance and what are the key elements to establish the importance of project governance? Project governance is described by the Project Management Institute 2013 as the alignment of project objectives with organizational strategy to allow for the project to fit within the organizational context, but still be seen as a separate entity of organizational governance. This process is required for project success as it possesses all the key elements that influence optimal project performance. This was said by Ali 2015. Good project governance incorporates accountability for project processes, proper stakeholder management, and project decision-making, while also the prioritization of project goals and objectives. Project governance is also the process which facilitates project decision-making and issue resolution, and also streamlines project processes, communication, and decision-making. Ali 2015 also establishes that a proper project governance framework is based on a project scope, timeline, complexity, risk, and stakeholders. It then incorporates the organizational structure and depends on proper communication and stakeholder management. The issues that presented in this case included the absence of a project governance framework, poor communication planning and stakeholder management, as well as poor project planning, no project design and poor project control, project risk management issues, no project sponsor and poor project budgeting with cost overruns, unethical behaviors demonstrated by project leaders, and culture-related issues. I would now discuss these issues in depth and also relate them to the coursework that are presented within this course. The first major issue as it relates to no project governance. There was an obvious absence of a proper project governance framework implemented within the project, which resulted in poor decision-making, lack of responsibilities and accountability, and no established or competent project design. The absence of uniformity and untimely decision-making processes, project delays and overruns, poor communication and collaboration, increased risk, inconsistencies, and poor stakeholder management and trust were the resultant project effects. This led to inefficiencies and project failures. The lack of a proper project governance framework created a trickle-down effect in project issues, namely inefficiencies in communication among the team members and poor stakeholder management, failure to produce a proper project plan and communication plan, culture-related issues, no project design and poor project control, inaccuracies in cloud-based services due to mismanagement and improper techniques of leadership by the project manager, failure to implement proper project policy, unethical behaviors demonstrated by project leaders, project risk management issues, and organizational structure communication and stakeholder management. Notably, project governance depends on proper governance structure and must have in place proper rules, protocols, programs, and portfolios to allow for proper project deliverables. It is important that the organizational context of governance be considered when speaking about project governance. In fact, when one considers the issues surrounding the project for the government technology solutions mandate, one sees the issues presented with the lack of organizational communication and stakeholder management. Mueller 2017 shows that there is a need for the fostering of a culture for the implementation of proper governance structures. A proper communication plan put in place allows for the identification of expectations and stakeholder interests. It produces concise, efficient, and timely information that will be communicated to all project stakeholders. Ali 2015. This in turn lowers the risk of poor communication throughout the project duration, which can lead to lowered productivity and project efficiency. A communication plan sets the foundation for project success. The other issue was poor communication planning and stakeholder management, also poor project planning. The project team failed to effectively communicate proper project digital transformation plans. This project was needed as it would have generated the relevant information and disseminated this information to interested parties for the project. Berklands, 2003. This resulted in less than expected project outcomes and improper communication governance within the project structure, which led to misalignment in team member objectives, responsibilities, and collaboration. The unraveling disastrous outcomes led to lowered productivity and inefficiency. The project communication plan would have allowed all parties to understand who to communicate to, who should receive specific information, when information should be shared, what information to share, as well as how critical that information would be. The absence of communication planning and poor stakeholder management allowed for poor project and program performance. Further, good project governance maximizes resources and project processes. In order for a successful project governance framework to be ensured, proper stakeholder engagement must be involved. If their requirements are not met, trust cannot be maintained. This improper stakeholder engagement resulted in sporadic communication and mismanagement, which can all be linked to bad project planning and no project governance framework. Number 2 is the governance life cycle and project life cycle resources. The absence of this resulted in no project design and poor project control. The Project Management Institute 2013 reiterate that a proper project governance framework addresses all functions and processes of a project lifestyle that act as a guide to manage project activities. This enables organizational strategic goals and objectives to be met, but also at the project level, project goals and objectives. The Project Management Institute 2013 also outlines a project governance lifecycle. The steps needed to implement proper project governance starts with first an assessment of structures, policies, and procedures. This is followed by proper planning mechanisms which establish proper project policies and protocols. The implementation stage of project governance allows for review and authorization of project goals by the responsible parties. This stage ensures stakeholder engagement and allows for all risks to be communicated to enable proper decision-making processes. The final step is the improvement stage, which promotes performance of lessons learned and ensures project delivery. The absence of project design and ultimately project control in the project can be attributed to the absence of a project governance framework. It was noted that the ministry had no resource competent in project design. This led to improper project implementation due to poor project planning. Consequently, poor project control was obvious, with many failed attempts to implement digital transformation resources. Haywood and Allen 1996 share that project control is necessary for functions such as project estimating, scheduling, planning, cost control, risk analysis, and other reporting functions within a project. This would have created a suitable project environment for project success. The third, governance, risk management, and compliance section, the lack thereof resulted in project risk management issues, with poor risk management being burdensome. Risk management in project governance concerns preparation for crises and disasters that can occur during the project lifespan. Its purpose revolves around identifying, analyzing, and responding to risk factors in the project, PIM 1987. These risks must be planned for to prevent uncertain events which can negatively or positively affect the project. Risk management supports project performance and ultimately aids in project success. These processes aid in project compliance and proper management techniques where accountability is ensured. The project showed mismanagement of project risk due to the absence of proper project planning. This was seen by the failure to produce contingency planning for failures in project missteps with no clarification in proper project implementation. Issues that arose also included poor communication, inaccuracies in cloud-based services, poor stakeholder management, and improper team leadership, which led to poor performance of the project. The proper risk management response system was absent to aid in any resolvement of issues presented which led to project failure. The fourth section deals with project governance principles and project success and governance challenges, as well as ethical dilemmas. The absence of this resulted in, as a result of no project sponsor and poor project budgeting with cost overruns where they were present in this case. It is important that a proper project governance framework is instituted in a project to allow for project ethical responsibility and considerations. This is to allow for proper accountability and morality in project processes that can aid in project success. If proper project ethics is followed, it would lead to all team members working in union and collaborating for the best outcomes of the project. Project sponsors will also not have all project responsibility, where project managers will allow for proper unloading of project work to suitable expertise. SHUSH 2008. The project would be driven in the correct direction and proper reporting to all project stakeholders would be done. With no sponsor and poor project budgeting with cost overruns, there was an absence and resultant lack of effective communication due to disrespect between team members and stakeholders occurred. In addition, the missteps in project implementation by the team was observed due to improper clarification and misunderstandings from the lack of proper information flow. This resulted in over budgets and cost overruns, which were not planned and caused lowered project success achievements. Unethical behaviors also resulted by the project leader. The project by the Ministry of Tourism for the digital transformation showed unethical behaviors demonstrated by the project leaders. There was an absence of a proper sponsor to report to, and the ministry discovered unethical approval of project processes without adopted policy, which was already advised against by technical and legal experts. There was poor leadership observed with the lack of approval or evaluation reports from an IT provider where negotiations for services were not done. The final section would deal with project governance and social and cultural diversity. Culture-related issues were present in the case due to the absence or the mismanagement of these. Project management involves the provision of an environment which fosters project culture, values, and beliefs. These must mirror organizational culture for project efficiency and effectiveness. And Barry et al. 2010. Cultural diversity impacts project speed, decision-making, and impulse to act. These can result in issues within the project, which can affect project performance and lead to project failure. Corporate culture considers organizational values and beliefs with a subset of project culture, which promotes teamwork from the project team, where they operate to produce project objectives and project successes. Culture-related issues were present due to poor to non-existent culture promoted via the government. This absence of culture led to poor decision-making and project overruns. I will now hand it over to Colleen, who will discuss the next section.
Based on inconsistencies with decisions and plans with the project thus far, it is understandable that the primary stakeholders hold reservations about its successful outcome. However, the onus is on GTS to provide mitigating strategies to ensure that close attention is given to critical factors that will contribute and ensure the project's success. Critical success factors, CSF, are the aspects of the projects that the deliverables require and the factors that will ultimately define its success. PANDI 2022. Thankfully, as PANDI 2022 posits, CSF is not a vague concept that can be tracked using key performance indicators, KPIs, allowing the project managers to understand if all the elements are being managed properly. With Spalek 2005 arguing that 67% of all projects run out of budget or time, it is evident that it is critical to understand the project's critical success factors. Hence, it is critical that GTS defines the project goals and objectives in the planning phases of the project along with the deliverables. Based on the Ministry of Technology's case, the following critical factors are deemed necessary to ensure the success of the digital transformation project. There needs to be an agreement on the project goals and objectives. The project's managers and sponsors and stakeholders must be in agreement with the purpose and goals of the project, Hughes 2018. The goals of the project scope needs to be clear, specific, and measurable. Establishment of this will also help the user base to understand the problems the project will solve for them by filling need gaps to aid in buying into the project to ensure their active participation. To foster the aforementioned, a series of workshops and staff development sessions can be organized. Secondly, development of clearly defined plans, roles, and responsibilities. As in all projects, a plan, though crucial, cannot operate without the establishment of the definite roles and responsibilities. The members of the project team, such as the IT manager, needs to understand how they are meant to function within the project. Clearly, definitions of roles and responsibilities must be clear, and they should be assigned to all tasks and deliverables. This will help improve tasks such as the project procurement processes and ensure that every member of the team is held accountable. Moreover, understand and manage the project scope effectively. The project manager must be alert for any changes in the scope and effectively manage those changes. He or she must be able to understand how any changes will affect the entire scope of the project, i.e., budget, time, resources, etc. Here, understanding of how to track changes, determining essential changes, and ensuring stakeholders' approval are all part of this particular CSF. Additionally, manage risk. Risk and changes are inevitable in any project. Therefore, the project team must engage in risk identification and mitigation within the planning stages of the project. In the event that risk does occur, as it likely will, stakeholders must be met immediately to create an elimination or mitigation plan, PANDI 2022. With the numerous challenges posed in this case, it is crucial that the project managers understand the root causes of the challenges, as they would adversely impact the project if left unattended and made to fester. Additionally, they need to cultivate constant effective communication. The MOT, Ministry of Technology, is clearly lacking in effective communication. Joubert 2020 argues that communication is the most important aspect in project management. Moving forward, GTS needs to create an effective channel of communication to ensure that every team member is abreast of what is occurring within the project at all times. Here, GTS should make use of the relevant technologies that would best foster this exchange, establishing who should receive what information and how. Furthermore, due to orthodox culture, it is imperative that GTS considers this to mitigate possible communication barriers that may affect the project outcomes. Also, there needs to be management support. It is clear that the minister and the permanent secretary are on board with ensuring that the project is successful. However, it is imperative that they are kept abreast of the project's process and they are approving changes to the scope to ensure continued support. Lack of management support is cited as a major reason for project failures. Hughes 2010. Establishment of these critical success factors would be imperative for the Ministry of Technology, as it will help facilitate communication between the various project stakeholders while removing bottlenecks that may impede communication. A bottleneck is any work stage within a project that stalls and holds up subsequent tasks and dependencies. Bottlenecks in project management reduce the pace and capacity of the project or workflow. It also reduces efficiency, backlog work, it allows for long wait times, high stress levels, reduced team morale, dissatisfied clients, loss of revenues, and productive time is often wasted. The issue of bottlenecks may be solvable through good and effective communication. Good communication is an important component in any project. It allows for projects to progress smoothly and on time. It ensures team members are aligned on project goals and understand exactly what's expected of them. It also helps build trust so everyone works together from project start to project finish. Good communication keeps conflict and confusion from bogging the project down by ensuring key players are aligned on project goals and know exactly what is expected of them. This issue or the issues faced by this current project, if not addressed adequately, can significantly impact the current project. Furthermore, monitor and control scope change and risk. The GTS needs to ensure that the project is monitored and controlled at every phase in alignment with its execution to ensure it is in keeping with the prescribed key performance indicators such as schedule, budget, scope, and avoiding risk. And they are all managed within an acceptable period. This will also help in avoiding some of the common project management pitfalls the project has already experienced in the past, something the major stakeholders would undoubtedly be appreciative of. Moreover, identify and prioritize goals and tasks. During the planning stages, tasks must be organized based on priority. However, as the project performance is monitored, many changes may have to be made. Hence, reprioritizing based on schedule, resources, and costs may have to take place. Hence, it is suggested that the project utilize project management tools such as WBS to ensure its critical sectors are not compromised. Finally, identify and allocate resources. Project procurement procedures and ethics need to be enforced throughout the project to ensure that the project is above and beyond reproach. This is extremely critical due to the client being government, and they are answerable to the entire country and more. At this point, I will now turn you over to Samari, who will now discuss the governance framework plan.
Okay, so for the project governance framework plan, this is linked to the objectives and critical success factors that were highlighted during the previous presentations. So to eliminate the impact and probability of project delays, poor project control, and inefficiencies, the implementation of a proper project governance framework must take place. Within the Ministry of Technology, there will be 4 ways to establish, define, execute, and control the validation of a proper governance framework. Firstly, initiating and establishing the governance framework must come from identifying the project management strategy that is right for the project. In the digital transformation project within Ministry of Technology, the project governance framework will be linked to the organization's project management and organizational alignment from the company's vision and mission being followed within its operations. One way to establish this will be implementing an organizational breakdown structure and RACI chart to support the roles and responsibilities within the project and making sure that there is adherence to the project management strategy of the organization. Secondly, defining metrics for risk and issue management. This means that a plan must exist to define all risks and issues which can occur throughout the life cycle of the project. Within the Ministry of Technology, deploying a risk management system will help the Project Management Office understand the objectives and benefits needed to create a proper communication plan and the setting up of proper change management plan. By implementing a risk register for tracking, mitigating, and identifying risks, this can help respond to any inefficiencies which can occur within the project. Thirdly, when all risks are managed properly, the execution of the governance framework will implement proper stakeholder engagement, communication, and recurring meetings to track project progress. Ministry of Technology will make sure that stakeholder analysis is done. It is important to gain alignment among all stakeholders by linking their expectations to the objectives of the project. During each phase of the project, meetings can occur where resources, information, and risks from the projects will be communicated. Likewise, the project manager will make sure that there is proper logging of information and decisions throughout their change management process, such as assumption logs, change logs, issue logs, project schedules, risk registers, and stakeholder registers. Lastly, monitoring, controlling, and closing within the project governance framework must also be considered to ensure that framework is effective and sustained throughout the project's life cycle. In Ministry of Technology, the project will implement standard operating procedures that will provide a standardized approach when performing processes within their governance framework. This will help reduce errors, increase efficiency and success of the project. The governance framework and its tools, which will be followed by the Ministry of Technology, can utilize a plan, do, check, act cycle that stems from an auditing standpoint. This will help find opportunities throughout the project's process where optimization and revision can occur to improve. Now moving to the conclusion. In conclusion, the assessment within the project being executed by the PMO office within the Ministry of Technology indicated that a general project management framework cannot sustain the needs and objectives of the project. Continuation of items such as poor communication, lack of project control, absence on mitigating risk, culture-related issues, and lack of leadership within the Ministry of Technology will result in project inefficiencies, delays, and cost overruns. Therefore, it was important to consider a project management strategy that supported critical success factors needed for the Ministry of Technology. Some critical success factors that were necessary for the digital transformation project were developing and agreeing on plans, roles and responsibilities, understanding the project scope, managing risks, creating effective communication, and ensuring management support. Creating a governance framework plan was also necessary for the Ministry of Technology. This was done by mapping out the project management process groups and ensuring that the concepts of project governance were considered in each area. All in all, the Ministry of Technology must take into account all factors and process involved in the life cycle of their projects to ensure that the processes are achieving the overall objectives of the organization and expectations of all project members. Just to conclude, that we have listed the references in the last two remaining slides, which was utilized during the presentation. Thank you.